Conversations with Azu Ishiekwene.
Ondo State in southwest Nigeria has been in the news in recent times. This is because the governor of the state, Rotimi Akeredolu, has been in and out of the capital, Akure, in the better part of the last 6 months for medical reasons. And this has brought political temperatures in the state to a boil, in a manner of speaking. These and similar issues form the basis of our discussion today on deepening the conversation. Interactive segment of Conversation with Azu, a weekly diary on life and politics published on the back page of Leadership Newspaper. Today's article is titled Ondo Backstory Imitates Insanity. And Azu, the award-winning columnist, is with me in the studio to throw some light on what he has written about. You're welcome to the studio, Azu.
Thanks for having me, Julius.
Ondo imitates insanity. In short, are you suggesting that history is about to repeat itself?
Yes, that's clearly what the article suggests. But it's also the farcical manner in which history is about to repeat itself. I think that's really what I'm concerned about in the article. We've seen this before, as I also said in that article. We saw this under Yaradua, we saw it under Sonta. We had it in whiff of it during Buhari's administration, when it was also a long time. And you'd ordinarily think that we would have clear-cut, constitutional, laid-out ways, the structural ways of dealing with issues like that. But obviously, we haven't learned more. It's actually a farce.
And Ondo State happens to be one of the states with progressive credentials. It's in fact the only state to have been ruled by the Labour Party for 8 years. And what is happening sort of disappointing to you?
Yes, it is, because you will also recall that the Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, of course, we all wish him well and wish him a speedy recovery. But when he was the president of the NBA, and we found ourselves in 2017 under very similar, under Yaradua in similar circumstances, he took the principled position that the country could not be held hostage by the health crisis, which unfortunately one man was going through, and it was time for him to resign. So I do not know exactly what is going on, whether he's in a position to make that call, but I get a sense, knowing him and knowing the sort of progressive politics that he stands for, if it was in his hands to make the call, I believe he would do exactly the same thing that he advised Yaradua to do.
I want to emphasize again on the NBA itself now, without Rotimi Akeredolu seeming to turn a blind eye, probably because one of its own is involved in such a critical situation. Do you think this speaks well in terms of equity, ethical conduct, and all of that?
Well, the NBA is just one pressure group, or it's just a professional group. So I do not think it would be nice if well-meaning people, and there are a lot of well-meaning people who have lent a voice to say, look, the right and proper thing should be done. Of course, we understand clearly there is a context to the drama that is playing out. There's a human element to it, of course. There's also the politics of all that is playing out. But I do not think that it will take only the intervention of one professional or pressure group for the right thing to be done. And I do not hold NBA totally responsible for the situation in which we found ourselves. Unfortunately, like in most Nigerian things, politics has taken the center stage, and I guess common sense and propriety have gone out of the window.
Okay, and in similar situations in the past, there are always unseen hands involved in this. And whereas the Constitution has provided a clear-cut solution to all these problems, why do we have this inclination to, overlook the Constitution and do things in our own way?
Well, you are correct that there are obviously laid down rules how matters like this ought to be managed when you find that the chief executive of a state is obviously no longer able to conduct the affairs of the state or of his office. That clearly, but I think that the deputy governor, who's now so-called acting governor himself, has not helped matters. I think that up to, as I also said in my column, up to about 6 months ago, the indications that I got before I wrote the article from people who are insiders was that Rotimi Akeredolu was quite pleased for him to take over should anything happen. But I think that, the meaning of his name, Ayedatiwa, that literally means that the world has become ours. He obviously cannot wait to take the world by the scruff of the neck. I think that has sort of complicated issues. But I think there is a time when we ought to lay grudges and sentiments aside and just follow what the law says and be in compliance, however inconvenient it may be at such times.
So how do you interpret President Tinubu's intervention, which has not called for, which tends to be diplomatic, or rather like a political?
President Tinubu's intervention, his intervention, well, he did what he could, but his intervention doesn't address the fundamental problem of the lacuna that's currently going on in the state. And it is the people in the state that are really, really bearing the brunt. So I think that we need to go and deal with the matter root and branch. I mean, it's our wish and our prayer for the governor to be in a place and in a position to govern the state, which is what he was elected to do along with his deputy. But obviously, I think that some people have hijacked the situation, and this, I'm sure, is not what the people of Ondo State bargained for.
All right. Finally, what do you think readers should take away from reading this article as high points, as takeaways, basically?
Well, a number of things. I think one of the messages I try to put across is, we've had 24 years of this, yes, and we've gone through all sorts. So there are precedents, and when the laws are clear and there are precedents, I think we should just follow, what the law says. And often it's not what the law says may often not be convenient. But I think it's important for us to just be in compliance with what the law says. And clearly in this situation, I don't think there is any doubt as to the right thing that ought to be done, which was what I called for in my article. I believe that if the governor is unable to do so for reasons, then the machinery or the people who are in a position to make that call ought to move and make that call in the interest of Ondo State and the people who elected this government into office.
This is where we wrap it up on the topic for today. You can visit and subscribe to Conversations with Azu, share, follow, and like our content. And Conversations with Azu is globally syndicated in Clarín of Argentina, Graphic in Ghana, and Daily Maghrib of South Africa. Thank you for coming on the show, Azu.
Thank you very much for having me, Julius. Thank you.
Conversations with Azu Ishiekwene.